Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are checking out Jazz on the Clock, covered by Ren Zotto. Now, I'm very excited about this. We reacted to Jazz on the Clock quite some time ago, and so I do remember the song somewhat, but it's been a while. But I'm excited to see Ren singing this. He has an incredible voice, and as we got to hear on our raw vocal reaction for the group cover NIJISANJI En just did, I mean, Ren just has this incredible pitch control and just this ability to manipulate his voice. It's so intricate, and I absolutely love the way he just presents his voice. I mean, it truly is just a pop star voice. So I'm excited to jump into this. I hope you are as well. Let's hit play in 3, 2, 1, go.
It's showtime now.
All right.
All the time. Take control, cause this is my life. This world will be mine. Come on, Jess.
Okay.
Yeah, Jess. I wanna take you to the sky. Oh, baby, yeah, you know it's showtime. Jess. Oh, Jess. I'm gonna make you lose your mind. It's time to step up, never give up. Now this is the time. Come on, Jess.
Is this instrumental sounds kind of different to me. I can't. I need to look. Who did the? Is this the same instrumental that was used in the original Jazz on the Clock? Because looking at, I don't see anything about someone doing like their own instrumental for this. But with just Ren's vocals and not like all the group's vocals. I mean, or Luxiem's vocals. It sounds like a completely different mix.
Cause this is my life, this world will be mine. Come on, Jess, yeah, Jess. I wanna take you to the sky. Oh, baby, yeah, you know it's showtime. Jess, oh, Jess. I'm gonna make you lose your mind.
So on this part right here, it kind of sounds like it almost sounds like there's a vocal backing, but I think it's just an instrumental that's under his vocal. That's like a bit bassier. I will say some of the vocals, they seem like kind of compressed. Like, I'm not sure if that was just a mixing thing or maybe he was recording it on like a different mic or something, but it sounds very different from his vocals on the cover. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily bad or good. It's just different, really. It sounds like a different mic to me, but that's easily something that could be a result of the mixing.
Oh, baby, yeah, you know it's showtime.
But like, yeah, I like how he's doing the harmonies though. I feel it's a lot more subtle than the original, but I think that's kind of a given when you're having a single vocalist compared to like 5, right? For the original. So, the harmonies are a lot more evident in the original, whereas here, it's a lot more uniform.
Time to step up, never give up. Now this is the time. Come on, Jess. Yeah, Jess. I'm gonna make it so you're mine. Oh, baby, gonna show you my love.
Like, even on that doobie doobie doo, I feel like, it feels very consistent. Like, so far, we're almost a minute into this cover. All the vocals feel very, very consistent. Like, there's not a crazy amount of, volume manipulation in the front of the mix. Like, the main vocal is very consistent in its volume throughout, whereas, everything felt very, very dynamic in the original. And I think it's kind of fun to see that comparison here. And I like how we're still getting, differences in the backing vocal or on these like little interjections that we get with the doobie doobie doo and stuff like that. Okay, it looks like we went for like a digital effect to get the bassiness here, which is understandable. I mean, I believe Vox, when he was doing this, Vox's range is, evidently a lot lower than Ren's. I haven't really heard how low Ren can go naturally. But here, I think that was honestly a good call. The bassiness, it's a very different aesthetic with that almost like electronic aesthetic to it. But you know, I think it's still fun, and you know, it gets the point across with that bassy interjection. And I think you can hear Brent's a little more breathy with his vocal there, and you know, personally I think that's a good call because that breathiness kind of counteracts the intensity of that digital pulse, you know, that bassy pulse that you get with that digital, you know, pitch manipulation. It feels like that breathiness in his vocal helps offset that a little bit and making it slightly more natural. All right. Every day is such a waste. Come on, Jazz. I'll cast a spell on you, give you a taste. I like these harmonies. Let's throw that silly glass slipper away. I like that little inflection on the glass slipper right there. That was very nice. Come on, Jazz. Let's throw that silly glass slipper away. You can hear it's almost like, I don't want to say vibrato, but you can hear that little bit of inflection and flair on that glass slipper away. Nice. Oh, come on, baby. Nice, getting the echo effect in. With your body on me. Good sustain. Okay, so we're keeping the echo effect throughout, even after those, you know, because we start out very spaced out. So there's time for the echo to, you know, just for the echoed vocal to just be alone in terms of vocal tracks in the mix. But now we're keeping it through the overlap. I don't remember if the original song did that as well. I'm assuming it probably did, considering, you know, if the original song didn't do that, I think this would be a questionable choice for the mix. But if the original song did, then I think, you know, it's understandable why he would keep the echo throughout. With your body on me. Like you can hear how the body kind of overlaps the on me there. So, you know, if the original did that, then I think it's fine to keep it in. But if the original didn't do that, I don't think the echo should be kept there. But I think it should, on the body, I think it should cut out. So it would be like with your, you know, you can keep the echo there. It's okay. But with the body, I like if I was, you know, mixing this, I would take the echo effect away from the body and just keep like a reverb or something to keep the consistency of the mix, but not overlap the on me, because you're finishing the line with on me. So you want the echo to emphasize that. So you have the initial on me and then the echo for the on me, but you don't want to interfere with what you're ending that line on. It's also, you know, it's personal preference, you know, personal taste, but I think it's fine. And it's also like a cover, so, you know. What you wanna do? What you wanna do? Tell me. Nice. Nice. Okay, that was something I was really waiting for. Was that rasp into his voice? Because that made the song for me on the original. Getting that little rasp and that playful. It's a playful rasp into the voice, especially on your introductions of your lines, right? And that made the song for me. That gave the song so much personality, and you know, it's hard to get such a, you know, a song that's so focused on all these different personalities and how to blend them and to make that into, you know, a complete piece with only one vocalist. It's hard to match the personality of the original, right? So you know, it's nice to see that bringing in if inflections. I wish he kind of did that a little more towards the beginning, but I like that he's doing it. You know, the fact that he's doing it is, you know, I like it. Do tell me. Nice. I do also want to say, I do really like that you can hear, you know, Ren's voice here, it isn't changing too much in demeanor, right? You know, obviously on the parts where Vox is, you know, having his moment, you can hear like how Ren kind of switches up his voice a bit. You know, he shoots down low, gets a little more breathy, and kind of, you know, getting that lower tonality, that bassy tonality from his voice. But even for this transition, like if I remember correctly, I believe this is Mysta's part. And I think the reason he has the glasses, I believe Mysta also has glasses, I think, like that. So yeah, I think you can hear how he switches his voice into this part.
Take control, 'cause this is my life.
You can hear the projection of his voice. It kind of flattens out a little bit. It feels like he's going a little bit back into. It feels like he's going like back into his throat, just a tiny bit for when he goes into Mysta's part here.
Live free all the time. Take control, 'cause this is my life. This world will be mine. Come on, Jess.
And you can hear how he ended that line with the mine. You know, we kind of got two emphasizations there. I hope that's a word. We got like two emphasizations, and then you can hear he uses his throat to do that. You can hear the expelling of air. I'm jumbling up my vocabulary all sorts of ways, but you can hear how he emphasizes that in his throat for that second impact on the lyric of mine. You can hear that comes from his throat there.
I wanna take you to the sky. Oh, baby, yeah, you know it's showtime.
So yeah, I like how he's kind of emulating their voices. Like on the "Oh Baby," you can hear that treble tonality. Really, you know, he kind of shoots up on not quite head voice, but you know, like bordering that head voice, and it kind of emulates, you know, Ike's voice on that part there, because you know we get that really focus on treble tonality. You know, I'm getting excited with my explanation. I'm like stuttering over my words and messing up my vocabulary, but I'm hoping that my explanation is at least somewhat clear. You know, the way he's presenting his voice on Ike's part, you know, he's matching the voices of the original talents. And it's not, you know, overly obvious. It's still Ren's voice. But it's just the presentation of that voice, you know, where the focus of his voice is. And that awareness is very impressive. It's not super obvious because he's not trying to do impressions, but he's still, you know, paying an homage to the original with that focus on the treble tonality for Ike's parts, the, you know, reliance on the throat for Mysta's parts, and then, you know, the way he, you know, belts out the notes. And you could say, yeah, I mean, the original composition, that's what he's covering, so it makes sense to do that, but he doesn't necessarily have to present the original composition in the way that the original vocalist did. He could make it his own, like, you know, vocals, and to an extent he did, but you know that the way he's presenting his own vocals is paying an homage to each original vocalist. I hope that makes sense. I know I'm kind of jumbling over my words. That might have been a bit of a ramble there, but I hope I communicated my point correctly.
Oh, baby, yeah, you know it's showtime. I'm gonna make you lose your mind.
Nice.
It's time to step up, never give up. Now this is the time. Come on, Jess.
Interesting. He kind of pulled up a bit at the end of time. You can hear he kind of pulls that out, gets a tiny bit nasally almost on that time.
Step up, never give up. Now this is the time. Come
Nice.
on, Jess. Yeah, Jess. I'm gonna make it so you're mine. Oh, baby, gonna show you my love. Welcome to our radio. Come on, this is the day we're gonna tear down this place.
All right. So we got like a big echo. Well, not echo necessarily, more of a reverb effect at the end of that sustain. It was not as long as I would expect, but I don't know if that's how long it was with the original.
Welcome to our radio. Come on, this is the day we're gonna tear down this place. Better believe it, feel the sound. Check it out, let's get louder.
So interesting. He changed up the mix there, because in the original, I remember on the check it out, let's get louder, I remember the treble tonalities and just the high pitch was way like at the front of the mix in the original. So, but I could still hear, you know, he had a higher tonality backing vocal, you know, to stack the vocal tracks there, but his main vocal sustained through that. So his main vocal kept its priority in the mix.
Yo, come on, this is the day we're gonna tear down this place. Better believe it, feel the sound. Check it out, let's get louder.
Like you can hear that higher pitch in the backing vocals, but it's not as high in the mix as it was in the original. And also, I think he's also using that instrumentation to kind of supplement that, because you can hear that horn that has that, you know, more treble focused tonality is you know, it's pretty high in the mix, especially for the part that's so vocally centric. So he's kind of supplementing that with the instrumentation, which doesn't seem like it was like or a necessity or anything. It just seems like a personal choice, which I think is a nice touch, because you know, you want to change a couple things and show your own flavor to the song, right? And obviously he's doing that through his voice, but you know, even in the instrumentation and how he's changing it up. And you know, it's not necessarily that the instrumentation is being changed. In fact, I think this might be the original's instrumentation. I'm not sure. But the way the vocals are mixed to the instrumentation changes the effect of the instrumentation. Because, you know, in the original, that section, the check it out, let's get louder, that section's horn part will probably, you know, at least in the original, I felt it wasn't nearly as significant as it was here, because of the way the vocals were mixed and the priority of the vocals in that part of the song.
Yo, come on, this is the day we're gonna tear down this place. Better believe it, feel the sound. Check it out, let's get louder. Up and down, just dance around. We're the ones that are gonna own this town. Yeah, you know we're always winning, so hop on in. Yeah, we're the heroes, yeah, we're the kings.
All right.
Yes, showtime.
That was good. Interesting. So you can hear like all the EQ manipulation. You can hear how we're adjusting. I believe that's a low cut. I always confuse low cut and high cut, but I believe that's EQ manipulation on the low cut there. And you're gonna hear as we're kind of playing around with that, the Vox part actually sounds way smoother. Yeah, I think it's because it's quieter, and also, you know, I feel like it's almost more breathy. That could just be me, but I feel like that's also, you know, the effect of the EQ shifting. You can hear how it's shifting in the mix, and so I think that actually lends itself to the digital effect on Ren's voice for Vox's part. That lends itself actually really well. That sounds way smoother than before. That's actually really nice.
Showtime.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, wanna live free all the time. Take control, cause this is my life. This world will be mine. Come on, Jess.
Nice.
Yeah, Jess. I wanna take you to the sky. Oh, baby, yeah, you know it's showtime.
Oh, nice. Okay. That was Ren Zotto's Jazz on the Clock. Now, I want to talk about a couple of things. Because, you know, listening to this, I had a few parts. I feel like a lot of parts where I thought, you know, this sounds weird. The vocals sound weird in the mix. And, you know, I feel like, you know, that might lend itself to knowing the original song, of course. But I had a lot of times where I just felt the vocals didn't feel, they felt like a little cloudy, like a little muffled almost. And, you know, I was thinking like maybe it's just like a compression, you know, in the mix, and maybe they like compress the vocals a bit, but it's a bit odd. And what I think personally is I think there was a bit of an odd EQ choice for the vocal tracks in the mix. And what I'm thinking is, was the EQ even... I'm not sure if the EQ was really adjusted much with the song for the mix, because, you know, usually on and there were parts where I thought it was perfect, you know, like when we were getting those big sustains, like especially towards the end, I thought that was phenomenal. That sounded really good, like on these parts.
Showtime.
Like that sounds great to me. But like towards the ending, you know, especially when we get those little panel shots.
Come on, Jess. Yeah, Jess. I want to take you to the sky.
Like maybe it's just me personally thinking this, because we get so much, you know, so many echo effects and so much reverb effects, that when we kind of take that away a bit, it feels more drastic. And, you know, that could be why I feel this way. But to me, like that part right there, it sounded so flat in its projection, not in its pitch, but the projection of those lines right there, that's felt so flat to me. But I think, you know, I think a large part of that could be just because, you know, we had so many echo effects, so much of reverb, and then we're taking that away. Especially, and we also had, you know, that EQ shifting in the instrumentation as well. So it could be all those digital effects suddenly pulling out. You know, that could be why I felt that way. But if not, I think, you know, like if I was in charge of the mix, I would definitely have like double check how the vocal tracks were mixed, and mainly not necessarily how they were mixed, but just like, you know, the EQ work on them. But yeah, overall, this was still really awesome. I like it. You know, I don't want to make that come across as a negative, but I think it was just, you know, that was really awesome cover from Ren here. I liked how he sort of emulated, you know, each different vocalist. And, you know, I think for, you know, Shu and Luca, I don't think he did like a whole lot to his voice. But for, you know, Vox was very obvious because he had that digital effect in. But I think Mysta and Ike's parts, he did a phenomenal job on. You know, I could definitely see like how he kind of shapes his voice around the original vocalist there. I mean, Ike's is a little more obvious because of that treble tonality that, you know, it's a very like front and center, right? But Mysta's, I was very impressed with. I was super impressed with how he did Mysta's parts, because it just reminded me of the original, the way he kind of sings and sort of he pulls it back like into his throat, and then on the big expelling parts at the end of the line, expellations, I hope that's a word. At the end of his lines, he would focus on his throat. You know, he would use his throat to re-emphasize the last lyric, which I believe I mentioned earlier as well. So, you know, it was just really, really cool manipulation of his voice that we got from Ren. So, massive props to him. I'm very, very excited to see what he comes up with in the future. But yeah, this was awesome. So thank you for recommending this, and thank you for watching. I will see you all next time. As always, feel free to recommend anything else in the comments below. Aside from that, I will see you all next time. Thank you so much.